Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 4, the final week in Taking Off the Pressure, one of the programs in our 4-week fast track series. My name is Dina D'Alessandro, registered dietitian, nutritionist, founder, and chief executive life changer at DishWithDina. I have helped hundreds of patients and clients over the past few years meet their health and wellness goals, and I hope to do the same for you. In this program, we are bringing awareness to heart health and cardiovascular disease, focusing specifically on educating you on how to manage a diagnosis of hypertension or high blood pressure, or help you reduce the risk of getting that condition in the future, depending on what your lifestyle habits are and risk factors, as we discussed in weeks 1 and 2. Much like the rest of these programs, we always come up with a handful of objectives that we hope that you meet and succeed at the end of your 28 days or your 4 weeks with us, and this one is no different. So the 4 objectives that we've come up with for this program in Taking Off the Pressure are, number 1, to help you know your numbers and lifestyle habits. We talked a little bit about blood pressure readings and then talked about some physical activity and other helpful and not so helpful habits that you might be partaking in, and having you track those to help you develop a baseline, and then from there launch you in the direction of helping you create some hopefully sustainable goals for the future. Number 2 is to get you to understand the effects of sodium on the body. We talked about nutrition and food, reading labels. We gave you some guidance on some foods that are supportive for your health and some foods that might not be so supportive for your health, along with some other factors that do play a role in heart health. The 3rd objective is to help you develop heart-healthy weekly meal plans and strategies to support your overall well-being as well. And the 4th objective is to get you to engage and interact with a community of like-minded people who are either diagnosed themselves and managing the chronic condition of hypertension or other heart-related conditions, and or helping them reduce the risk of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. Now, keeping in mind that the whole purpose of these 4-week fast track series is it's fast. It's to get you the quick and dirty information that you need to know to go from point A to point B and through the rest of your life. So, as I've mentioned in past videos, and if you've ever seen me talk anywhere else, I tend to share about my role as a dietitian and helping you bridge the gap between the medical doctor that you see, who diagnoses you and meets with you regularly in your physical exams and helps you with understanding your diagnosis and maybe giving you some medicine to help you manage your chronic condition. And then once you leave there, if you haven't been referred to a dietitian to help support you in managing that condition, then that is my place to come in, and that's what I'm hoping to do in these videos, to get you a little bit more information that has to do with food and nutrition, obviously, but then also get you to look at some of your other lifestyle habits in general to see whether or not you're doing things that are going to support your overall health. So as a dietitian, I try to come from a place of evidence-based guidance, and that's why I do these things, because a lot of time, you know, in general, I want to say like other social media platforms, people might not necessarily be qualified, or you might not necessarily know where to go. Some people don't even know what a dietitian is or does. A lot of us are mostly in clinical settings, like in hospitals and that type of thing, where people are recovering from something, surgery, cancer, etc. But a lot of us also do what's called outpatient counseling. So we work with people on a regular basis to help support them in their food and nutrition needs, that we understand the chronic condition at hand, and that certain foods and ingredients and meals and so on, what can be supportive for that. So I hope that that has been helpful to you, or at least it gives you some little starting off or jumping off point that you take it from here and you move forward with a little bit more information that maybe you didn't know before. Or you look into either working with me in the future or one of my colleagues. So you can also reach out to your doctors and ask to be put in touch with somebody that they can refer you to in the dietetics field, and have them help you along your journey as well. Now, we are in the final week of our program, so I'm not going to be giving you any more new information. It's really just to get you to review and recap everything that we've discussed to date. and asking you to assess your successes and challenges, and then committing to going back and reviewing your long-term goal that you made at the beginning of this program. One of the keys, I've said this many times before, of having any new habit become a regular part of your everyday routine or normal part of your life is to prepare yourself, right? So you want to spend a few hours at the beginning of every week putting a plan into place, and then what you would do is kind of tweak it as you go. What works for you, what doesn't work for you. If it's not working for you, why? Are those things, as we discussed in week 2, modifiable, things that you are in control of and can change? Or is it something that you just have to kind of get rid of and just be okay with and move on with some other way or different direction that works for you? So we always try to encourage people work towards small incremental changes. We're looking for progress, not perfection. Depending on what your long-term goal was, it could take a really long time to get there. We asked you to set out in 4 weeks to do something for yourself, but it may take you a little bit longer depending on how serious your condition is, how committed you are to certain changes to make, and how much you can change within that realm. So be patient with yourself. Know that there's no miracle cure for anything. It takes a lot of sometimes hard work and perseverance, but you can definitely do it as long as you commit to it and be consistent at it. The materials that we shared with you along the last few weeks, we hope were beneficial and helped you kind of plan out whatever you're going to be doing in the next weeks to come or the next months to come. We gave you a daily/weekly activity log. This is just a checklist, right, to keep you kind of on track with your little homework assignments and things that you might need to do for yourself in order to achieve your goals. The second thing that we gave you were some templates with food groups and meal planning, and also, again, just if you don't use those, it's totally fine. It might not necessarily work for you. I am more of an electronic person, but I do like pen and paper too, so whatever works for you as far as keeping your weekly routines in check and being accountable for that, then this is just some guidance to give you. But you can always like freestyle and do your own thing in a notebook or on an app or wherever you feel comfortable doing that. We also shared with you the nutrition facts label. We give you a little bit of a tutorial about that, sharing with you what to look for when it comes to specifically sodium. But if you are looking to get a little bit more in-depth information about how to read the nutrition facts label and looking for ingredients, I definitely would encourage you to check back to one of our previous video programs called Gaining Kitchen Confidence. There's a lot of juicy information in there, very general nutrition guidance that I think suits all types of populations. We also gave you a goal setting document, which was for you to reflect on and then set aside for yourself small, short-term, hopefully very achievable, realistic goals, right? We talked about SMART goals. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that before, as far as specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable, realistic, and time sensitive. This is an acronym used in that way as far as making sure that what you're planning for yourself isn't just some like out there thing that you can't achieve, that you're taking really these small little incremental steps that are achievable and realistic for you. Because we want you to succeed, right? We want you to be able to do what you set out to do. We also give you some resources like recipe generators and other websites, some other guidance that we think was interesting to share with you as far as the American Heart Association, people that are the go-to organizations and resources in this field, much more so than I am. These people do this stuff every single day. I'm just here to kind of play the interim role or the conduit to lead you in the right direction and share with you the things that I look at as well, because there is a ton of stuff on the internet. Not everything is real or right or research. So I want to make sure that you're always getting the proper resources in hand. And then what I will also do, if I haven't done so already, is I usually sometimes put a feedback survey link at the end of these programs just so you can see, give me some idea of how you think I did, what the information was that I shared with you, if it was beneficial. But also we usually try to ask the viewer to self-evaluate too. How well do you think you did in this? Were you paying attention? Did you apply certain recommendations? And if so, how'd that go? So we always want to try to improve upon what we're doing on our end, but we also want to make sure that it's benefiting you. That's the whole purpose why we do these things. So before I go any further, as always, we would love if you gave a like to this video and the other videos that you've watched. We also would love if you subscribe to our channel, because there's a lot of really good information here. And, depending on what you yourself are going through or anybody that you might know in your family, your friends, your circle, or whatever, they might benefit from some of this information too. So right now we're only talking about taking off the pressure related to hypertension. That is one of many different heart-related conditions. We're also going to be sharing our information on helping people with other chronic diseases like kidney disease. We might go a little bit into detail as far as diabetes management is concerned. We definitely have some things coming up along the lines as far as gut health. So I really encourage you to check out the rest of the library of videos that are going to be coming up and go back and forth and see what applies to you or to someone else. And then you can share and obviously comment below to this one or any other videos that you've been watching with some feedback. I mean, you know, I've said it before, you can give us a thumbs up, but you can also give us a thumbs down. If you don't like something, please let us know why, and then we would love to improve what we're doing to make it better for you. You are the target audience. We want to make sure that it's resonating with you in some way. So let's go back in time a little bit here, right? In week 1, let's recap there. We asked you to regularly check your blood pressure. We talked about doing it every day for sure, at least once a day, if not 3. How's that been going? Is that something that you're keeping up with? Are you seeing any changes? And have you forgotten to take it? I mean, I've done that too. Sometimes I forget, like my normal regular routine just goes out of my head. Have you scheduled time, right? So now that you're at week 4, have you scheduled time to meet with your doctor to go over your numbers? That's something you don't necessarily have to go in to the office for. So a lot of doctors' offices do offer telehealth visits, right? So virtual visits where you can just check in with them, read them the numbers, tell them you've been meeting with the dietitian, virtually sort of, and or ask them to refer you to one to help you along your journey in that respect. And then see if some of your goals, maybe in the beginning of the video program, we talked about maybe one of your long-term goals to be getting off of meds or reducing the dosage of medications that you've been taking. Obviously, I hope I don't have to say this, please don't get rid of your meds completely without talking to your doctor first. The whole point of this is to help you manage it in a way that you might have to have medicine with you in conjunction with your food and nutrition modifications, but that's for you and your doctor to discuss. So make sure that you're looping that person in. In week 2, we talked about some lifestyle habits and other things to consider, like reading the nutrition facts label when you're going shopping, or even anything that happens to be already in your kitchen inventory for sodium content. To give you a little bit more control about over managing your hypertension, or at least promoting some health and reducing your risk of getting this disease if you are so prone to do so. We discussed specifically about minding the salty 6. We talked a little bit about processed foods and packaged foods, incorporating physical activity into your weekly routine. Disclaimer, make sure you get medical clearance on that because I am not at liberty to do that for you. And making sure that you are also staying, hydrated and well nourished throughout the day. How is that going? Any feedback on that? Any changes that you're noticing in that way if you've been implementing it and being kind of consistent in these new food and nutrition recommendations and modifications you've been making? And then last week in week 3, we shared with you a whole bunch of foods that we believe, based on research and some guidance like the DASH diet, that would be beneficial in helping you lower your blood pressure and supporting your overall health. Kind of like a win-win situation there. How many servings of different food groups have you been integrating or incorporating into your daily meal plans, into every day, every week or so? Are you doing your best to maybe cook and prepare foods at home so that you're a little bit more in control of what the ingredients are and how to manage that? Are you being mindful of portion sizes? We've said before, nothing wrong with, eating certain things that maybe aren't as healthy for you or might potentially elevate your blood pressure, but being consistently doing that and finding patterns, or maybe excessively eating more servings that are potentially recommended for you, could definitely play a role in elevating your blood pressure and putting you a little bit more at risk if that becomes a pattern. So has that been difficult? Has it been easy to create routines along those lines, especially if you've not been used to doing that before? If you live with others, we didn't even talk about that, right? Like, what if you have other people in your house who maybe don't care or don't need to care or aren't dealing with the same issues as you are? Are you having to go out of your way to create a whole different individual routine for yourself? And is that then causing any kind of disruption in your dynamic at home? Or are they reaping the rewards of your nutritional changes? Are you seeing everybody kind of being like, wow, that's pretty cool. Thanks so much for, stepping up a little bit, making things a little bit more healthy, being a little bit more mindful of foods, being a little bit more balanced in the way that we're eating. We really appreciate you doing that. So in this week here for week 4, it's really just about tying all of that together and making sure that you're setting yourself up on the path to success and meeting those 28-day or 4-week long-term goals that you created for yourself back in week 1. I think I mentioned in the beginning that I've had my own issues with hypertension, and at the time it was directly related to stress and over consuming some outside foods. I was doing a ton of takeout when I was noticing my blood pressure elevated. Now I've been diagnosed with this before, so I had a blood pressure cuff at home, but also I was making sure I was seeing my doctor very regularly just to maintain that, and I was not taking any medicine. So the way that I kind of combated this issue, it wasn't super severe, but it was definitely kind of getting in that way where regularly it was happening, this elevation stuff. I did take into account a lot of different things. So stressful lifestyle factors, I've said this before, they are technically modifiable. It was just really hard to do that. I had to kind of prioritize certain things on my schedule. I had to have a lot of really heartfelt, meaningful conversations with people about setting boundaries for myself. I did end up having to quit a job that was making me super, super stressed and foregoing some money for a while. So that in itself was also stressful, but I just felt like this relief of things coming. And then thankfully, I got back in track really quickly with other stuff, and I was being underactive. Like I wasn't being physically active, or at least not as much as was normally recommended to me when I had been doing so previously. So I think all of those changes in one particular time really played a role, and it was not surprising at all that my blood pressure was elevated. Now, I do have some family medical history related to this. It's possible that, as I think I mentioned in week 2, I might be swimming upstream. This might be a little challenging for me to kind of keep at bay, but I have to persevere and I have to do what's right for myself because my health and my well-being is a priority for me, right? This is a non-negotiable. I want to make sure I live long and healthy, and I can share my roles and responsibilities with my patients, my clients, people like you, my family. I hope that they see me leading by example, and that I feel really good about the changes that I've been making as well. Now, I was lucky, as I said, some of my small changes got me back in the clear pretty quickly. I think within around 3 or 4 weeks, I was back to normal blood pressure readings, and I have been consistently so for, I would say, maybe the last 3 or 4 years. But that might not work for you. So depending on how your own habits are, how significant or how severe your own condition is, sometimes, as I said, food and nutrition modifications could help, but they might not cut it completely. You might have to still be on meds, and in order to maybe not even completely resolve your condition, but just to manage it more long term. So, any healthful change is beneficial, I believe. So those small incremental changes that you can make, even if it's food related, nutrition related, increasing your water consumption every day, making sure that you stay less stressed, which is not the easiest thing to do sometimes too. Any one of those changes would be beneficial. And then I tend to believe like the positivity begets more positivity in that way. So if I feel like I'm doing well, and listen, I have bad days just like the rest of them, but for the most part, I really do try to maintain positivity and try to be grateful for certain things in my life, and be conscientious as to what I'm putting in my body and what I'm putting out in the world. So what is it that you need to do to be successful, to continue on your health and wellness journey? Do you need to go back to week 1 and rewatch that video? Is there anything that you enjoyed or forgot, got a little bit lost or overwhelmed along the way? Do you need to kind of assess your own habits, your general habits, your lifestyle, your environmental factors? Create a plan for yourself. I mean, we gave you a ton of templates, but you can make something up your own. Monitor and evaluate that on a regular basis, much like we're doing here with week 4, just kind of like wrapping everything up and going along. If you need to go back and start over again, then please do so. Or if you need to come in along the way in another few months just to kind of add another component to it, then do that again. Keep changing and repeating until you feel like you've hit in a groove and you are on the road to success. So everything that we discussed in this video, the downloadable materials from the past weeks and the ones that I just mentioned here today too, I'll put them below the video for you guys to download at whenever you want. And I constantly promote my own services, or at least just like a phone consult. If you just want to check in and interact with somebody like me, a registered dietitian, to kind of give you some guidance and see where I can steer you in. I might not personally be able to help you myself based on our own schedules, availability, price-wise, etc. But I can definitely give you some direction to help support you in some way, because that is my purpose. I want to be of service to you. And, you know, keep hanging out, keep following me, us, my crew. Join up with our Facebook main page, sign up for our email list. You can go on to dishwithdina.com and just enter your email address when that little pop-up window shows up, and I'll add you to my email list to keep you posted on any other events. Subscribe to this channel, right? This is the way that I'm going to be communicating with everybody. So please feel free to check in again somewhere down the line. Hopefully we'll find more material to share with you that you think would be beneficial and interesting for you. So on that note, as I always say, super grateful for anybody that comes and finds me and thinks I'm giving them interesting information. I'm very, very grateful to have you here. And I really do hope that you will let us help you embrace and develop new relationships with food for the future. So take care, and we hope to see you again soon.